In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful, I bear witness there's no God but God, and Prophet Muhammad is his slave and messenger, and I seek refuge in Allah from the rejected Satan. In this video, I like to talk about the Mahdi, and will the Mahdi reveal himself, or will the Mahdi not reveal himself? Will the Mahdi stay in a cave for 1200 years and not reveal himself? I believe the Mahdi will reveal himself to a certain degree. I believe the Mahdi has to reveal himself. If the Mahdi never reveals himself, then he'll always be hidden. So at some point the Mahdi has to reveal himself. There is a lot of belief in the Muslim world that if anyone who claims to be the Mahdi is automatically not the Mahdi, and or reveals himself to be possibly the Mahdi, then that automatically denounces that he's the Mahdi. And I think that's just being a little bit silly. I think that's just taking it to the extreme. I mean, the Mahdi will have to reveal himself at some point. That's just trying to hide the Mahdi, trying to close the door on the Mahdi. I mean, basically the whole Muslim world is against the Mahdi. The Shias thinks that the Mahdi's in some cave for the last 1200 years. The Sunnis don't even talk about the Mahdi. Very little Sunnis talk about the Mahdi. Muslims in general don't really talk about the Mahdi. It seems like from the hadiths from Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, basically the whole world will pretty much go against the Mahdi. The Mahdi basically just has a law, and at some point the Mahdi will have a small group of followers or helpers to help the Mahdi, roughly around 300 people, and that will be sufficient enough for the liberation of the world through the Mahdi and his supporters, and obviously Allah makes all that happen. Allah, the one, the creator of all that exists and has power over all things. So Allah is the one who makes that happen. Allah is the one who chooses the Mahdi. No person chooses the Mahdi but Allah. Allah chooses all the leaders, and Allah promises Abraham in the Quran that he will make his descendants leaders that are rightly guided. So the Mahdi will be a descendant of Abraham, a descendant from Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon them all, the prophets and messengers. And someone was asking me if I had a mole on my back, on my right back, in the shape of a pigeon egg. And I haven't shown this yet, but I do. As you can see there, on my right back, I have a mole in the shape of a pigeon egg on the back right of my shoulder. And I never have claimed to be the Mahdi, but I do bear many of the signs of the Mahdi. If Allah guides me to that, great. If not, I've got no stake in being the Mahdi. I'd be happy just to live a normal life. But I only mention these things because I like to speak my truth in my life and express myself in truth. So that's why I'm attracted to the Book of Allah, and I'm attracted to knowledge and things like that, and want to make the world a better place. So I don't make any claims that I am the Mahdi, but I do bear many of the signs, which does not technically make me the Mahdi. It's up to Allah who he chooses to be the Mahdi, but I have to take it somewhat seriously because I do bear many of the signs, and I have many other manifest proofs that Allah has shown me and manifest for me in my life to incline me to think that way. So I have to take that seriously and somewhat prepare myself. So the Mehdi has to go through a preparation period. The Mehdi has to realize that anybody who studies Islam will come across the Mehdi. The hadiths mostly talk about the Mehdi. Prophet Muhammad and his companions, what are the biggest topic in the hadiths is the Mehdi. So the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, and his companions, they talked about the Mehdi pretty much on a daily basis, and was a big topic back in the day. And nowadays it's really not. Nobody really talks about the Mehdi. You rarely hear scholars or Islamic speakers talk about the Mehdi. It's like they don't want the Mehdi. And the Shias really talk a lot about the Mehdi, but they just think he's in a cave. So they just, I don't know, they kind of close the door on the Mehdi because it's some fantasy thing or whatever, because their line of thinking doesn't make really any sense to me. It doesn't make any logical sense, because if he's the 12th Iman, if he's the 12th, how could he be the 12th if he was born roughly 1400 years ago? It doesn't make any sense. And Allah says in the Quran, he could have sent down angels, he could have sent down other wild creatures to guide us, but he's going to bring somebody up in your own world, in your own, going through the same trials and tribulations that everybody else goes through the same types of life experience that everybody else goes through, shows that you can do it or whatever. Somebody to help guide and send a message and help guide humanity. God's not going to send an angel or whatever else to help guide humanity, but going to send somebody who's had your type of experiences. So somebody who was born 1400 or roughly 1400 years ago, been stuck in a cave, is not going to be able to relate to anybody, because he's out of time. He's not in this. It just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. There's no support of that in the Quran at all. I mean, it's contrary to actually what's in the Quran. So really, the Mehdi doesn't fit in anywhere. The Mehdi is basically a lone ranger looking for people to help him in the cause of Allah, which are far and few between. So the Mehdi has a big task at hand, and only really has Allah to rely on. Won't be able to rely on anybody else. Only Allah. So that's the thing. Obviously the Mehdi has to reveal himself at some point. To say that he's not going to reveal himself, anybody who does is not the Mehdi, is just taking things to the extreme. The Mehdi has to put himself out there. It's just he has to do that. I mean, he has to make contact with the world. He's got to put himself out there, and the way he's going to do it is by goodness. Allah says in the Quran that to defend yourself against evil is to defend it by doing good. So the Mehdi is going to be doing goodness. That's how he's going to conquer the evil in the world, is by doing good, by being service to others, doing what Allah makes lawful and staying away from the unlawful things that Allah forbids, doing good deeds, being the example, getting closer to Allah. These are the steps that the Mehdi will take. This is what Allah teaches in the Quran. So and like I said, the Mehdi is going to have to put himself out there at some point. He's not going to be hiding in a cave. The Mehdi is going to have to realize that he is the Mehdi. He's going to come across the information about the Mehdi. He's going to connect things, at some point, and make realizations that he may be the Mehdi or whatnot. So To say that the Mahdi is going to figure things out overnight in one night, it just doesn't make any sense. There's just no preparation. It's just like, oh, I never heard about the Mahdi. Um, Allah just gave me a dream, and all of a sudden I realized I'm the Mahdi, and then I'm gonna go out and save the world. Like, no, Allah, there has to be a preparation. There has to be, step by step preparation. Allah is just not gonna just flip the switch and then all of a sudden, boom, I'm the Mahdi kind of thing. It's gonna take a lot of time and patience and effort and a lot of learning and teaching that Allah is going to teach the Mahdi. So um, there's lots of misunderstandings in the hadiths that I hear. A lot of Islamic speakers talk. A lot they say with their own words like the Mahdi, the name of the Mahdi will be similar. I emphasize the word similar to my name and similar to my father's name. So he's going to be called Muhammad and his dad's going to be called Abdullah. Well, similar does not mean the same. Similar means similar. It's not going to be, the Mahdi's name is not going to be Muhammad and his father's name is not going to be Abdullah. It's going to be similar in a way. So it's just little things like that. And there's other hadiths where Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, said he knows the name of the Mahdi, but he's not going to reveal it. If he's not going to reveal it, why would he say his name's going to be like my name and like my father's name? Then he's revealing the name. So it's contradictory, so you got to look at things logically. You got to look at things, if they contradict each other, they're being hypocritical, and there's lots of that going on. So you got to be sharp. You got to be focused and know your stuff. You got to study the Quran and the Sunnah of Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. If you want to really advance and move yourself spiritually forward and get closer to Allah, you got to really know your stuff. And so yeah, I believe the Mahdi will have to reveal himself at some point. He's not going to be in a cave. He's not going to be hiding. He's going to have to reveal himself in some shape, way, or form into the public eye. People have to get to know him. He's going to have to influence the world in certain ways, not just always in spiritual ways, but in some physical ways. And there's lots of hadiths that show that the people will see the Mahdi in the palm of their hands. We'll see them when they're sitting with legs crossed and on their laps, like in a laptop. So it's really showing that the Mahdi will be out there somewhere, just not going to be hiding in a cave or, hiding out somewhere. The Mahdi's going to put himself out there, and it's up to people to realize that or not, believe it or not. So we'll see what happens, and it's really good to talk about the Mahdi because the Mahdi will bring you closer. When you talk about the Mahdi, you're going to feel more in a paradise state. You're going to feel happier. You're going to feel like you're in a paradise state when you're talking about the Mahdi. It really, really elevates your vibration, your spiritualness, your closeness with Allah. I really feel it when I talk about the Mahdi, like in these videos. I get a real high and a real closeness with Allah when I do it. So I don't really hear other speakers talking about the Mahdi. It's really rare, and there's lots of misconceptions about the Mahdi, like I listen to lots of contradictions. So you really need to know your stuff, and everybody's got their own opinions and stuff like that, which is all good. I mean, Allah knows all things, and Allah knows what's best. So may we all be guided and blessed. I hope this video helped, and I wish you closeness with Allah, and may Allah guide and protect you. Thank you.